Watch this smartphone. A burst of chaotic red static pulses across the screen and then snaps back to absolute black. In reality, a modern cyber attack can entirely compromise a device without you ever noticing a single disruption in performance. We have been conditioned by movies to expect flashing, chaotic warnings when a breach occurs, but real infiltrations are engineered for maximum stealth. While you are scrolling through emails or using an app, background processes can quietly map your local network, index your files, and open backdoors without triggering a single notification. This is exactly why cybersecurity exists. Its core objective is to act as an invisible, structural bodyguard for your digital life. That bodyguard must protect three distinct vectors: the physical devices you use, the data stored inside them, and the networks connecting them together. But this raises a paradox. If we deploy advanced security software across all three of these vectors, why do massive, catastrophic data breaches still happen every single day? The failure occurs because we confuse a technical flaw in a machine with a flaw in human authorization. Security architects view your devices and networks as a combined attack surface, the total sum of vulnerabilities across everything you own. To secure this surface, we have to categorize threats by examining exactly how they attempt to penetrate the perimeter. Category 1 consists of technical exploits. These are malicious programs, like viruses, engineered specifically to attack the logic and architecture of the machine itself. Category 2 is authorization exploits. Attacks like phishing completely ignore the machine. Instead, they target the identity protocols managed by the human user. Technical exploits break through the logic of a system, while phishing tricks the user into providing valid credentials. Standard defense mechanisms are built on logic and math. How do they process a threat that bypasses their code entirely? To build a true defense-in-depth architecture, we need to analyze the exact anatomical failure of a system during both a virus attack and a phishing attack. Treating all cyber threats as identical technical problems creates catastrophic blind spots in our security posture. We begin the deconstruction with the most recognizable technical threat, the computer virus. A virus is strictly defined as a piece of self-replicating malicious code that requires an initial execution trigger by the system. This diagram illustrates a local device operating system, mapping the central CPU hub, memory allocation blocks, and a storage drive. The execution vector begins when a user inadvertently downloads an infected executable file, believing it to be legitimate software. The millisecond that file is opened, the operating system allocates active memory to the malicious program, allowing it to bypass basic perimeter checks. This initiates process injection. The virus inserts its malicious instructions directly into the memory space of legitimate, trusted applications. By hiding inside trusted processes, the virus successfully piggybacks on the operating system's own administrative privileges. At this stage, the machine has no idea it is compromised. It believes it is simply executing authorized instructions from a trusted source. A virus succeeds by using the machine's flawless execution of logic against itself. Once the virus secures memory privileges, it delivers the payload, the destructive action it was programmed to take. This visualization shows a hierarchical file directory undergoing system corruption. The virus overwrites core OS registry files, triggering a rapid state change that cascades downward, breaks the tree structure, and crashes the system architecture. A second payload type is ransomware. The virus uses mathematical encryption to scramble the user's personal data files, slamming them shut and rendering them completely unreadable. In both scenarios, the physical hardware remains perfectly intact, but the data and software structures have been corrupted or rendered inaccessible. Technical exploits are catastrophic because they destroy the very integrity of the device and the data it holds. Phishing operates on a completely different premise. A phishing attack involves absolutely zero malicious code injection on the victim's device. Instead, it attacks the network authentication flow by manipulating human perception and trust. Look at this network authentication flow. An attacker sends a communication, an email or SMS, containing a link to a spoofed server portal. This red node is disguised to look identical to the green, trusted server of an institution like a bank. The user clicks the fake link and willingly inputs their username and password into the spoofed portal, sending their credentials straight to the attacker. During this entire interaction, the user's local device, the CPU, memory, and storage, is functioning perfectly normally. This is credential harvesting. The attacker's server captures the inputted data in plain text, stripping away the disguise. The immediate aftermath is simple. The attacker now possesses valid authorization tokens, like passwords or session cookies, to log into the real server at their leisure. Phishing is lethal because it bypasses the technical perimeter entirely by convincing the user to provide their own authentication tokens. This brings us to the first two layers of the traditional cybersecurity defense checklist: regular updates and firewalls. Regular updates act as a defense against viruses by patching the exact software loopholes and buffer overflows that malicious payloads use to inject into memory. A firewall, shown here, acts as a strict digital bouncer. It analyzes incoming network packets, blocking traffic from known malicious IP addresses or anomalous ports. This is why the firewall easily stops a remote virus attempting to brute force its way into the local network. Now, consider the vulnerability paradox. What does the firewall do when you actively navigate to a phishing site and hit submit on your password? It does absolutely nothing. To the firewall, that phishing attempt looks exactly like legitimate outbound web traffic. It is a standard HTTPS request, actively authorized by the user. Technical perimeters are completely blind to authorization theft. This is why a fully updated, firewalled system can still suffer a catastrophic breach. Because these threats are asymmetrical, defenses must be layered so that the failure of one system is caught by another. We require a third checklist layer to fight phishing: strong passwords and multi-factor authentication, or MFA. MFA specifically neutralizes phishing. Even if an attacker steals a static password, they cannot breach the system without the temporary secondary token sent to your separate physical device. The final checklist layer is encryption. This acts as the absolute last line of defense for the data vector itself. If a hacker uses stolen credentials to bypass the firewall and exfiltrate data, strong encryption ensures that the stolen files are completely unreadable gibberish without the local cryptographic key. This overlapping matrix, where updates block exploits, firewalls block traffic, MFA blocks stolen credentials, and encryption blocks data theft, is the definition of defense in depth. This visual summarizes the completed architecture. The four pillars of updates, firewalls, passwords, and encryption successfully stack together, shielding the core triad of your devices, networks, and data. Effective security depends on the constant, vigilant management of both machine architecture and human behavior. When constructed correctly, this layered architecture acts as a silent, structural bodyguard for your digital existence. If you want to explore hidden mechanics behind complex tech and AI topics, follow this channel.